Well, I think I'm live and I think it is working. And so if you are here, please let me know that you can hear me and see me so that my anxiety goes whoosh, down a notch. I've had some mic troubles lately because I updated some software, and turns out when you do that stuff, like you try to make things better, it makes things worse. I don't know how or why, but it does. Going over to the chat while people let me know if they can hear me and see me. I see Anthony, who is working, but also listening. Thank you, as always, for dropping in. There is Bera and Margaret. What is up, my dear? And Chris and Sagar and Derek and Sabina and Sarah. What's going on? Missed you last week. And there's JYH. Man, I have not seen you in a while, Jay. It is great to see you in the chat. And Denise, holy cow, it's like I don't know, what is it like? It's like taking me back to maybe this time last year. Just because in the live streams, like people who need this time, it changes, right? And not everybody needs it, and not it doesn't suit everybody all at the same time. So it's just like some familiar faces that I haven't seen in a while, and it's good to see y'all. Also, it cracks me up because when I signed on to this, there were like 12 or 13 people there in the chat, and then as soon as I started talking, they got off. they went away. They disappeared, and I'm like, yes, repelling marketing, right? Like attract the people to you that's like this, and then the people who don't should just leave. So I was very effective today. It took me less than a minute for these people to realize that they desperately wanted to be somewhere else. Gosh, I'm so good at this. Anyway, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Or good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. I'm having iced coffee, and I'm using this Wednesday time to get fired up about doing some work. You see, I'm bringing out the face because I spent the last week mostly with my kids, and my goal was to get to 50 articles on the Mega site, and I still have 21 to write. So I'm so screwed, which means I am going to have to do literally nothing but like plant my butt in this chair from now until the end of the month to make this happen. I'm like, literally what happens when I do stuff like this is like I come out of this work like tunnel with a flat spot down there on my bottom because I've been planted in the chair for so long. I really need to get a standing desk because otherwise, like, I just have this flat butt thing going on from sitting so long, like going like this. Oh my goodness. I feel like the chat is running like way far behind my speaking today because people are still telling me that they can hear me and see me. So anyway, what is the plan to talk about today? I'm going to go even to try. I really hope this is working even because I can't even adjust. Will it give me live chat? All right. The chat is just quiet. So I have a list of stuff to talk about today because I find that lists really help me. First of all, I wanted to report that I had a boost, like a random boost in RPM over the weekend. And I was wondering if anybody else was seeing fluctuations in RPM. It wasn't like dramatic, but the Mega site has been, had fallen recently. So it was down around the 10, 11, 12 mark and was bumped up into the 15, 16, 17 sort of range. And I just wondered if anybody else saw anything like that to try to gather data. It's awesome. Sabina says it's working. People are quiet, and that is okay. This is the like the entertainment part of the show where I act like a moron, and then people are like, yeah, great. Sarah says, this morning was great. I brought my 6-year-old in for a crown, and they had to pull it out instead. I don't know if that's good or requires whiskey. There's Reddit Phil. Oh my goodness. I feel like all we need is commit to get here, and then my life will be complete. Basically, I could just stop like the stream today because all of my friends will have been here. Sabina said they had dental surgery and stuff. It's so hard. And Margaret reports no EPMV changes for her. I wish for all of you the best EPMV or RPM changes, but only in one direction. That is up. After last week, so last week we sat and talked a bit about the not income store, income school, like, the dividing of Jim and Ricky. And so everybody was talking about the podcast, right? The Niche Pursuits podcast that Spencer did with them. So of course, after this thing, I went and I listened to it, and I was right. I was so right. We started talking about this a couple weeks ago, and they were on YouTube going like, oh, it's totally amicable. There was nothing wrong. And then Ricky in the podcast, and the podcast was recorded like the day or like before the announcement was made. And he was like, yeah, the splitting apparently was amicable, but what led up to it, I don't think it was. And so I was just like, there's no reason why, like, a business is going really well and everything is perfect, why people would just stop taking that money and putting it in their pocket. Anyway, my speculation, I feel like, was borne out by Ricky himself in the podcast. And so I just find myself completely and totally entertained by that. Also, I think I've had too much coffee because I'm like, if you are in the chat and you've not smashed the like button, please do that because it makes my heart feel fuzzy. So I got stuff in the mail, and those of you who hate Ezoic are going to laugh. But anyway, they sent me a shirt because apparently they have like this customer appreciation thing coming up in September. They gave me a hat, and look at this. It's like one of these ones that has this thing, and I feel like those are the ones that my grandparents wear. So I wish they had like a legit baseball cap, that like went, and then you had the things to put on there. And it's also huge. Like if I were to put it on my head, it would like dwarf my face. It's humongous. And the shirt also is like gigantic. Look at this. I could hide behind it. Ooh, I could wear it with leggings. But anyway, it's a nice shirt. Like it's super soft and fuzzy. But anyway, yes, you probably heard about it. People are talking about it. And we'll be talking about it more. The reason I bring it up was, one, because I like free stuff. So if you are a brand or a corporation or anybody who wants to promote stuff and wants to send me t-shirts, I love t-shirts, mugs, like all kinds. Like, so feel free to send those to me and I will be happy to talk about your promotion. But apparently, the links are in the description. In the second or third week of September, it's the 13th through the 17th. They're doing a bunch of prizes and giveaways, and they're giving away backpacks. And what they want from people is testimonials about their experience with Ezoic. And there's a link if you would like to jump in on that. They're also, now this is the thing. You say, okay, well, you're an Ezoic affiliate and like, that's why you're talking about it. And I actually think that this customer week thing, aside from prizes and giveaways, it's backpacks, right? Like if you want a backpack, you can submit your name. But I actually think there's going to be some interesting stuff that comes out of this that's worth talking about. And I only know a little bit about it so far, but I do think for small publishers, it's worth paying attention to. And so this is just me saying, pay attention, because I have a feeling we'll be talking about it in streams in the near future. And if you want to like find out about it, the links are in the description for the testimonial. I don't get anything from it, right? Like I don't, like if you go in and do like an entry and to try to win a backpack, like I get nothing from it. So it doesn't bother me one way or another if you do it. But I'm actually think I'm going to be paying attention to it because I'm tentatively like very curious about this specifically. And I'm going to go look at their doohickey, their info sheet, their media packet. But specifically, it says the investments they're making in publishers. So I just think that part is what I'm really curious about, is investments in publishers. I find it very curious. So I'm going to be watching that. That's the 13th through the 17th. Let's see. Jesse, Niche Informer, is here. What is up? Jesse, I saw your blog post, or it was on Facebook recently, where you said you started a new site and that it was doing not very much early on, and how normal that is. And I just wanted to thank you for putting that out there, that it's pretty normal to start a site and put up a couple articles and to not be knocking on the door of Mediavine within 30 days. In fact, most of us, when we start a site, the site goes very little in the first couple of months. So I appreciate that. Sabina says, I know you are becoming a niche ninja. Well, what kind of things do you do to assure that the niche has enough search volume? It's not so much search volume that I think about, because I think that most of the tools are not accurate. What I try to do is look to see if there are people are interested in that. And you say, well, where do I look to know if people are interested in that? And I say, okay, well, do people gather to do this thing? Like motorcycles, like Sturgis recently, like, the hogs, like you sit on, like the Harleys, like going around. Do people gather to celebrate their interest in this thing? Like, are there conferences to celebrate this thing? Like, people will spend money to go hang out with other people who have this same interest. What do they call it? The grown men who are really interested in My Little Ponies. Is it My Little Ponies or is it Care Bears? I forget. Like that's a group of people who meet to do that. And you say, okay, well, they meet, but does that mean there's search volume? I say, well, how many gatherings are there? Is there one gathering in the world? Or is it just in Los Angeles on, a certain day? And that's the one all year. Like, is this something that happens around the country, around the world? Like, is it happening all over? You can also look at Facebook groups. Like, are there lots of Facebook groups dedicated to this, and how many people are in them? And if they're in them, how active are they? Like, if you go into a private Facebook group and you join it, it's about fence posts, like fence building enthusiasts. Does it have a group of 350 people, or is it 350,000 people with thousands of posts every day? That's another way to say, okay, is there people interested in this niche? You can go on online and just search for the thing, the fence posts, and fence building, and see, are there forums dedicated to this specifically? Like Fence Builders Are Us, Anonymous, the cult of fence building. And if so, a lot of times these little forums say, how many members are in there, how many people are in the discussion, or are there any recent discussions? Because you have a giant forum that has no recent activity, then you can be like, maybe not that interesting. You can go onto places like Quora or Reddit or any other place where you have general user-generated content. It's like specifically Reddit, though, because you can have like Reddit communities dedicated to those things, and then look and see, one, how many people are in it, and two, how often people post there. And if you have like lots, like you see like one Reddit thread dedicated to cedar cedar boards for fences, that has only a couple hundred people versus 84,000 people who are interested in the topic, you say, okay, I can start to see. Whereas if I don't find any of those things, if that doesn't exist, then maybe I should keep looking. Let me know if you have more questions about that. That's pretty much what I do. And I did not think of that on my own. Most of that was jacked from Morton and his course. Links in the description. Graham says his EPMB has been up, but yesterday on my most traffic ever it had. Very weird. That is very weird. So you had a big traffic day, and then the EPMB had, well, it could be that the traffic that spiked. Like, my question then is, like, did it spike on a particular post? Because you could say, okay, normally I get 1,000 views and it's spread out across everything, right? So, it's like $10 RPM, but then one specific post that's really low value spikes. So I get an extra 1,000 visitors on a post that has like, the RPM is $2, or maybe it's on a post that has objectionable content in it for some reason. Like, it has some word that the advertisers don't like that you didn't even know, like violence. You could see violence being used in all kinds of terms, like in all kinds of posts, without actually referring to anything objectionable. Then this post gets tons of traffic, but is not valuable, and that would bring down the overall RPM. So anyway, Sabina says she loved the interview. I'm assuming this is talking about Jim and Ricky. It felt like it helped me understand their business a bunch more. It was good. It did help me understand Ricky a bit more, and I did come away from, I watched about half to 3/4 of it, and it helped me understand him a little bit better. I came away liking him more from it. Anthony says, "Why didn't I get a shirt and hat?" You know, I will send you mine. It probably would fit you better than mine. Sarah says that her EPMB keeps going up and down a couple of dollars. Ditto. Me too. Sabina says, "Ah, yay. Carl talked about that. My very elegant grandmother wears hats like that too." Yeah, it's just like this thing on the back. Like it, I don't know. What the thing is I'm not cool. So I don't know what's hip anymore, but it does have the sticker on it still. Do you think I should leave? Could wear it and leave the sticker on it? Is that what the cool kids are doing? It says adjustable. Yeah, it's hip. Oh, Phil says, "Gotta love free merch, but yeah, where's mine?" Margaret says, "Do you have to do a test to get that shirt?" I literally had to do not very much, nothing. Josh Coop says, "Late but listening." Josh, thanks for dropping in. I think I've had too much caffeine because I'm like bouncing off the walls this morning. Funny thing about shirts is that I'm wearing another shirt that's probably super inappropriate, but I just had to show you guys because why not? So I had my Ezoic shirt, and then I was like, maybe I should put it over the top of this one. But it's like I don't actually like. I thought for sure that this was a joke shirt, but it's got the Nike label on the back. Like they actually were selling this shirt for a while. Like it's hard for me to imagine them getting away with selling it now, but apparently sometime in the last 10 or 15 years, they were selling this shirt in stores. Oh, man. Chris says, "Oh, dang, I got a cap that's too small for your head." Yes, well, you're freakishly tall, apparently, and nobody knew. Yeah, I won't repeat the slip, Chris. Sagar says, "Lots of energy." I know, right? Vera says, what do you prefer? Only Ezoic ads or Google AdSense plus Ezoic? When I first started with Ezoic, I did AdSense plus Ezoic and just had the AdSense ads wrapped. And I have since switched over for my sites that are on Ezoic, just Ezoic. I don't try to run both. You have the option to run a certain amount of traffic to AdSense and certain amount to Ezoic. But in general, for me, I found that the Ezoic traffic out earns the AdSense traffic. But what I would say is test it out and then see what works best for you. And then you'll know. Don't just accept what I have to say about it. Cyrus, what is going on? Cyrus, thanks for checking in on email the other day. I haven't had a chance to get back to it. I'm a little bummed that you're not going into websites, but I understand why not. And I totally respect that. And I really look forward to seeing you grow, gain experience, and get fired up about stuff. Sabina says, "So much love for honest progress reports." Yes, I concur. There is Donna K. What is up? Don't worry about being late. So far, I feel like we've accomplished this and that. Not too much. Me showing off ridiculous shirts. That's about it. Bronies. That's what it is. I'm so far back in the chat. Let's see. Sagar is asking Chris about low volume keywords or around 50 to 100 volume keywords to get some traction. And Chris says he's happy to write anything from 30 plus search volume on up. So at least some volume. John says, "Since you use gatherings as a gauge for whether or not a niche is good, I'm considering adding another site to my portfolio all about a holiday. What do you think?" Well, I will also kick that to the chat. What about holidays? I think initially I have to wonder, well, the reason I don't necessarily like holidays for myself, and I can only speak for myself, is I tend to like things that are more stable, right? Like a holiday is probably going to spike at a particular time of year, whenever the holiday is. And my guess that, like, let's say it was Valentine's Day, that the interest in that particular thing would be maybe intense, but really short. And for me, because I would like to build something that earns year round and maybe has a great spike at Christmas, but doesn't go to like to zero for the rest of the year. For me, that's a no. But at the same time, that could also turn off lots of other people. And that could be a reason to get into it because people are avoiding it. You have your competition, though, from other big sites that have maybe lots of authority, that also maybe dabble in covering the holiday from their angle. So you would be in competition against these big sites that are doing like 10 best t-shirts on Valentine's Day. And so, but again, you're like, if you had like a really niche down website that was really focused on Valentine's Day, could it outrank some of the big sites with the higher authority? And the way Google is going lately, I mean, the answer might be yeah. But for me, just because it's not stable like most of the year, like 90% of the year for me, that's a pass. I want to know what other people think though. Like, what do other people think about a holiday site? I've talked to other people, John, who are interested in this, but I'm like, I don't know. Sabina says that John has so many sites, and he does. Sabina says, gotta go do some work at work, jump on the replay. We are happy to be your favorites, and we will catch you on the replay. John says he only wears fitted hats. I would love fitted hats because at this point my head is not going to get any bigger, but it doesn't have the little spot in the back for a ponytail. So they're out. Can't be bothered. Sagar. Sagar is asking Chris about an FAQ section. Phil is laughing. Bara says, what is the criteria for Zoic access? Right now, if you are interested, you don't have a big site. Like, it used to be that you had to have at least 10,000 sessions a month, and now there is no traffic threshold. If you go through the Access Now program, with any amount of traffic, you can get into Ezoic with, you have to take a class and then take a test. As far as the requirements, in general, you need to be able to get into AdSense, would be my opinion. So if your content is objectionable, like AdSense has, given you the ban hammer, then you're not going to get approved over at Ezoic. Basically, it needs to be, unique content, so not scraped. I am not aware of any specific geographical requirement for where your traffic needs to come from. Like some other ad networks, they want it to be US traffic or primarily tier 1 traffic. I think your traffic can be from around the world. And, beyond that, if there's any objections to it, it'll be specific to your site. Like I had a site that is currently and is still showing ads on AdSense, but got rejected by Ezoic because one or two of the articles that actually got quite a bit of traffic, they're like, oh, this is no good. We don't like this for whatever reason. And I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to give away the niche, but they rejected the site on that basis because it had one or two articles they didn't like. And I have to wonder, since it's been almost 2 years, if I resubmitted it, that maybe it would get through now. But at this point, if you have a site that you want to run through Ezoic, then the best way is to try it out. John says it isn't a mainstream holiday. So then my thoughts about the holidays, do people search it year round? Like, would people be getting ready for this holiday year round? Because if the answer was yeah, then I'd be like, all right, I'm convinced, like I'm more convinced. Baraz says, no podcast, no Mega update or any video, and also no video from Chris. What is going on? We are waiting. Well, I have an update video coming at the end of the month for the Mega site. So around the first couple of days of the month is when the Mega updates come out, and around the middle of the month is when the fight site updates come out. And as far as when Chris posts his videos, I cannot speak for Chris. The podcast, we will get to it when we get to it. Graham says he just dug through his Ezoic pages and it looked like the spike I got on multiple pages had a 0% engagement rate and their EPMBs were 0. And I checked the analytics and the spike happened at once. It sounds like bots. And that's probably why your traffic was, why the EPMB, was so bad. Let's see. Sarah says, talking to John, if I had a big portfolio like you, I would consider it, but I wouldn't do it if I only have a couple of sites. There is Keith. What is going on? So the topic that I have written down, that I have lots of stuff written down about, is I actually wanted to crowdsource, just maybe for fun, especially for the folks that either write content for other bloggers or other websites, or they purchase outsourced content. But I wanted to crowdsource the most, and I wrote this down, the most hated phrases, language, or things that outsourcing writers do. Like this, let's just hate on for a minute, like in a professional way, the things that they do that drive us bonkers, like completely drive us bonkers. They could be like medium bonkers, like mini pet peeve, versus like, I see this, then I'm not hiring them. There's no chance that I will hire them. And so I will go first, and then I look forward to seeing what other people think in the chat, because there has to be a bunch of stuff. My biggest pet peeve, and this is one of the reasons why I hesitate to give them a specific keyword, is that they will just start dropping the keyword like randomly, like trying to incorporate it in there because they think that it needs to go in there. But like lots, like especially with versus articles, like cedar versus oak, just random wood references. But so let's talk about cedar versus oak. In discussing cedar versus oak, we will address the fact that cedar versus oak is, and you're just like, for the love of God, why do you need to keep saying that? And you have to go through and fix it every single time. And so it's like, not only have they repeated the keyword over and over and over and over and over again, but it doesn't make sense, right? Like you would prefer to see like cedar and oak, or just how about cedar, or the word like fence boards, but it's like repeat, like can you tell that it bothers me? It's like one of the primary things that I go in to fix first whenever I get an article back that has been outsourced. It's like their attempt to try and worry about or think about what I would want for on-page SEO. And it's like God, it's so frustrating. Sue says, when they add links to products that are not available, that is obnoxious. I also dislike it when they use their own affiliate links. Yeah, sometimes they do that too. And you're like, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Chris says the phrase "as mentioned earlier" does his head in. So like they're going along and they talked about a topic, and then they get down there and it says "as mentioned earlier." Oh yeah, now we know how to annoy Chris. It's just whenever we're messaging him, it says "as mentioned earlier." Watch his head like. John says that he does most of his own writing, plus write for other bloggers too. I have a gig on Fiverr. I don't know how you do everything, John. I literally have no idea. Denise says, pet peeve, whilst. Do you say with a long I, like whilst or whilst? Because it's not a word that I use. And so, I mean, I'll see it in a book. I don't even know how to pronounce it. So somebody help me look less like a moron. Just help me pronounce whilst versus whilst. Sue says using that. That does sound bothersome, doesn't that, Sue? Philip says, Reddit Phil says the word thus. Thus, we know how to annoy Phil. Margaret says a reference links at the bottom of the article, and you have no idea which part is supposed to be relevant, right? So maybe you could ask them to just put the link in like source, right? Just add them to put it where it needs to go. But yeah, you have this like gigantic strip of links like at the bottom, 20 or 30 of them, and you're like, great, thanks. Thus, Phil got upset. Denise says it's how the British say while, so it's whilst. Somebody use that for me in a sentence, please. Phil says that I just wanted ammo to torture you all. Well, luckily, the live chat, I clicked the button that saves it so it could be on replay, so we could go back and we could we would generally all have access to this ammo so that we can definitely, or thus we may now annoy Reddit Phil. Stu says, wait, you guys don't say whilst. We might. I generally don't, though. Like, whilst. I don't even know how to use it in a sentence. Please, somebody help me. Jay says, so many. One is using resonates the wrong way around. I would love to hear like an example of how resonates is used wrong, so that maybe somebody watching this in the future will see it and realize, oh God, I did that. And this is why it's no good. That being said, Anthony, that being said, I feel like I use that a lot. Not necessarily in my writing, but that being said, I totally use it while speaking all the time. And maybe that's why it is that it might come out in writing, because people are like just using like the conversational tone. It's definitely not something you would use in an essay for school, but if it's very conversational, I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of that one. My bad. whilst drinking my coffee, a fly came through my window. Yeah, it sounds extremely formal, like thus, as mentioned above. Sue says that whilst I was spell checking articles with the overuse of that, I felt like I needed a drink. Donna Kay says, not knowing the difference between American spelling and British spelling. Yeah, I definitely don't even know the difference. And I probably miss it sometimes even. Sarah says, yeah, never use the word whilst. I keep wanting to say whilst and whilst. It exposes how little I understand how to use that word. Jay agrees with Anthony that being said is uniformly bad. Do not go there. Thus, that, as mentioned above. Sabina is welcoming Sue, as Sue is the best, and she is. Sagar says the phrase, I don't know. Now, it's hard for me to imagine why, if you were writing like an info post, why it is that the phrase, I don't know, would pop up in there. I don't know the answer to this question that you came to my article to get the answer to, but let me spew some completely unrelated facts in the hopes that I could gain some pennies from ads while you fumble around on my site, scrolling around, trying to find the answer that's not here. I'm not going to lie. Today, I was the victim 100% of clickbait of exactly that, right? I was just looking on Google News this morning when I should have gotten up, and there was an article, and I'm going to admit something, but I'm slightly like into pop culture and celebrity news. And so the headline was Britney Spears rocks some cute white mini dress and heels, right? I was like, ooh, let's see what Britney Spears looks like. And so I click on it and I get in there, and there's a description of the dress and the shoes, and there's some ad for the shoes. And you know what? There was never a picture of Britney Spears in the darn white dress. They got me. They got my time and attention, and I scrolled through there, and they earned their money from ads. And I went all the way to the bottom looking for the darn thing. I mean, all the way to the bottom, like through the ads. I'm like, this has got to be in here somewhere. They can't have like this article on the front page of Google News and not have the thing that they promised to have. And I got to the bottom, and it wasn't there. And I was like, I bounced, right? And then I was mad because I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get what I went in for. And they totally got me. Stig says, Reddit Phil, same Phil as Earning Financial Freedom website. Yes, our very own friendly celebrity is here in the house today. Anthony says, I used to be too honest, but I don't like it. Jay says, the thing, speech, article, song resonates with the person, not the other way around. The speech resonates. It sounds like somebody's trying really hard to sound intelligent, to use it like that. I'm trying to figure out if I'm guilty. I have been guilty of that. I probably have been guilty of that one. Regardless versus irregardless. That isn't a pet peeve, but I do believe that many people who use regardless and irregardless don't necessarily understand what is okay or not. And so they just use what they want and thus annoy you. Chris says, I had a university lecturer and we made a drinking game out of every time she said, that being said, then about 8 years later, my students told me they drank every time I laughed at my own jokes. Oh my God. When I was working as a judicial clerk back in the pre-law days, I worked as a clerk with a bunch of my law school buddies, and they got in big trouble for this. And I did not participate in this, I will just say, because I was a goody two shoes. But they actually made like a bingo card out of the things that people said that were ridiculous, and would play the game while we were bored in court. And there were things like, I only had one, speaking of alcohol, or I didn't know, or just like some ridiculous things, like, or like showing up like wearing their clothes inside out because their clothes weren't acceptable for court. And finally, like to win the game, not only did you have to get the bingo 5 across, but you actually had to say bingo on the record. And one girl said bingo in the middle of court, and she got into big trouble. And after that, bingo was banned because the judges found out about it. And anyway, yeah, no, totally been there. Donna K says, well, you guys are American. The Brits use whilst. Well, your language is maybe more formal than we are. I say dude all the time. So you guys sound good and I sound like a teenager. John says, I think depending on the tone of the article, some of these are okay depending upon your individual preferences. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to much of this is individual preference. It's just kind of fun to hear what people have to say about it. And so if you have contributed a pet peeve, that cannot be the only one, because I have a whole list of them. So I'm going to put down another one. So you want to know that. This is one I get all the time. So you want to know about, and then dropping the keyword there. So you want to know about cedar versus oak. Duh. Of course I want to know about cedar versus oak. That's why I came to this website. So you want to know about cedar versus oak. Let me tell you about cedar versus oak. And it's like, do not say that. Do not say, so you want to know about. Just tell me about cedar versus oak. This is like an obvious attempt to try to drop this keyword in here, and it's annoying. So you want to know about fence posts. Yes. That is why I clicked on this article. So you want to see Britney Spears in a white dress? Yes. That is why I clicked on this article. Why are you waiting to give me the thing that I'm here for? Just saying. Oh, I'm so far behind on the chat. Teacher problems. Phil says, Chris, how many alcohol dependent students are you responsible for? Not that they needed much encouragement. Stig says, nice. Mr. Mars turned me onto your blog. Good reading so far. Yep. If you have not checked out Phil's blog, earningfinancialfreedom.com, he posts income reports over there. And if you need like impetus to get started, Phil's a great example of what's possible, just starting from scratch, writing everything himself. I'm pretty sure that the case study he's covering right now on his blog, he has done zero outsourcing at all as far as writing the articles, I think. You can get me though if I'm wrong, Phil, but I'm pretty sure that one is fully not outsourced, and it's a great place to just follow along if that's the stuff that gets you. Sarah says clickbait gets me too. Yeah, we're only human. It totally gets me. Sabina says this is hilarious to watch on mute. Are you watching this on mute? Ooh. Let's see. No worries. Could care less versus instead of couldn't care less. Well, sometimes you got to think about, I mean, I could care less. I mean, I couldn't care less. Like, I think it's just people don't realize what it is that they've actually are saying. Like, I could care less about these things versus I couldn't care less. Like, that's as much as I could care. I don't know. I just don't think most people even really think about what it is that they're saying. They just say one or the other. Stick says, dude. And I said, I know, it's such a West Coast thing. D says, we still play bingo in meetings. Yeah, we probably could play it. You guys could probably, you guys and ladies could probably play it here on the live stream. And basically every time I say things like thus or dude or throw up my hands or like that's an easy one if you guys want to drink all morning or evening because I can't stop myself. Sarah says, yeah, I call my son dude. It's very American. It totally is. Vera says, when did Ezoic invite their premium network? Do you have any experience? So you don't get to join Ezoic Premium when you want. You have to wait for an invite, and they don't invite everybody. And I was invited earlier in the year, or maybe last year. It was probably last year. It was right around the time. Oh, it was on my 2019 case study site. I was invited in. The site was a year old, and it had about 25,000 page views. So it probably won't happen to a site that is small. And it also has to be a site that Ezoic thinks will appeal to specific advertisers that will that participate in the premium program. And I think it's dependent on all kinds of things. Like I've only been invited on that one site, and then I was in the program for like 2 months, and then it got slaughtered by May the 4th, and I decided just to not do extra stuff. And I haven't been invited on anything else again. So I may have abused or used my one Ezoic Premium invite, but it's all good. Dee says, I love that lucked out means the opposite in the US. So so lucked out is usually a good thing. Like, hey, I lucked out and got that last spot at the movies. So in UK, lucked out means I lucked out and didn't get to go to the movies. It means the opposite because lucked out is good in the US. Are you saying that lucked out in the UK is like something bad happened to you? Because that I find really, really interesting. Stig says, fluffiest fluff in Fluffville. That is also on my list. I'm like very specific in my SOPs for outsourcing, and I say, please only do a 1 to 3 sentence introduction. And what I get back is like this gigantic paragraph that's like scroll. It's like half the article where they want to introduce the topic. I'm like, why? I mean, first of all, the instructions said 2 sentences. Like, come on. What is this? But yeah, like super long introductions when not only I've asked for them to not be there, but also it's just includes a lot of information that will cause people to bounce. They're like scrolling, and they're not getting the information that they want. There's no Britney Spears wearing a white dress and red heels, and they're like, see you later. I'm out of here. Donna Kay says, meaning Ezoic Premium, invited me this week. Can you discuss this more? Yeah, tell me, what are your questions? There's lots of people in this group that have joined Ezoic Premium that have chosen not to participate in Ezoic Premium because they are bothered by the fact that you have to, the payments for Ezoic Premium is outside of your publisher payment because it requires 2 transactions. But other people are in it and they don't mind the payment thing, and they find that they actually earn more money as a result of it. So what are your questions, Donna Kay? Because if I don't know the answer, lots of people in this group probably do. For Ezoic Premium, do you pay separately for each site? I believe the answer was, I actually don't know the answer to that. My thought was no, but then again, the amount that you pay is dependent upon how much traffic that you get. And so I was always under the assumption that it was global, but I don't know. Is somebody else? Chris, do you know the answer to this? Phil, do you know the answer to this? I would be curious if somebody else could confirm that one way or another, because I would also like to know this. Donna Kay says, my site had just reached over 20,000 sessions, so I don't know if that was a determining factor for the site. Graham says about lucked out, says it sounds like ran out of luck. Yeah, in the US, it's the opposite. D says lucked out is negative in the UK. Well, dang. Stig says, what did Anthony say last week? What will you still say? Say it. Say what you said. Just say that sounds like a song actually. But yeah, no, that's my blog post writing template is here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to, let me tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you. And here's what I told you. That's $997 worth. I'm certain somebody will pay for that. Anthony says premium is just for your whole account, not just for one site. And then D says you only pay once and it covers all of your sites. Graham says I have to write for UK and US clients, so I have to generally navigate language differences and spelling. Yes, totally. I guess I don't even really think about that because Americans, we're so selfish. We only think about ourselves. Sue says that she earned $3.57 on her first week on Estoic. Congratulations, my dear. This is me patting you on the back, a virtual pat on the back. Well done. Phil says, yeah, what Tortoise says, it's account wide. Denise says, I have a Estoic Premium. It's one price for all. Well, we all just learned something. Josh says, premium requires the advertisers as a match for your content. Some sites will never get the option unless you reach out and really hassle them. So that's another thing. I guess if you are on Estoic and you are really interested in premium, it might be worth reaching out. Donna K says, I joined just to see what it was and how much more I would earn. I didn't realize there was a payment schedule for Estoic Premium. Yes, there is. And it is separate from the money they pay you that you earn with Estoic Premium. So you have to actually kind of do the math in your head after the fact to figure out what did you really earn for the month. Josh said that he got in with 5,000 total traffic. So did they invite you, Josh, or did you have to go to them and say, I want access to this thing. Please let me in. Stig says, say. Yeah, there's at least a couple songs that involve say. Way to go, Sue. So the next thing I have on my list, obviously things like copying, pasting is obviously a no-no, right? But sometimes when you have an article that involves like travel, like people don't necessarily think about like just like rewriting. Sometimes things like directions to a place are extremely hard to rewrite. And so they will just literally, for like two things that's annoying. One is they'll like rewrite the directions, but not very well. So it's basically a straight like paragraph explaining how to get to somewhere. But it's also a way to really fluff out an article. They're like, here, let me write this great article about this place and then spend 500 words on the directions for how to get there and the prices and for how to get in. You're like, oh, really? Why? I mean, I know I asked people to like include like pertinent details about like, okay, you should really take a water bottle because it'll be hot. But then I get back 500 words about here are all the prices. So seniors pay this, kids paid this, adults paid this. They're open on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, but not Saturdays. And you're like, why am I paying for this? Yep, that's a super pet peeve. Josh says, I clicked the question mark. As to premium, you can't pay them with money you haven't earned. Bara says, maximum earning from Estoic in one day. And Josh says, that is unanswerable. That is truth because I don't know what everybody else earns. And I'm not aware that there is a maximum. Why would there be? I don't understand why there's a concern about like there being a max because no maxes. Another pet peeve of mine, and I'm hoping that other people will continue to have pet peeves because this is fun, is when you get all of the text back in one block or even like 2 or 3 blocks. Like not only did they not create paragraphs, but they just like typed it out. It's like all in like one like gigantic block. So they don't even have it in sections. You can't even tell what topic goes to what. It's just like all in one block. And so then you're left with creating headers, which I always do anyway, but also like going through and like sometimes moving around information because they didn't even really organize. It's like a stream of consciousness. Like, here's what I think about this thing. And here's some research that I found. And they get all the way to the bottom and they're like, send. They don't even read what they wrote at the top. Sometimes you'll find information at the bottom that they put up at the top that's just straight copied and pasted. It's the same words. Like they forgot that they already put that information there and put it again at the bottom. And it's not like a say what I said. It's like specific, like like a factual thing, like most fence boards are made from oak, cedar, and pine. And you're like, yes, but that's not something, that's just a fact that you repeated multiple times. So I guess there's two pet peeves in there. One is like large, like dense blocks of text in the articles that you submit to your publisher, and then also not reading it at least one more time before you send it. Like actually go back to the top, read through it, and make sure that it makes sense before you hit send, because I think that some people do not do that at all. Stig says, are you and Chris doing niche reveals on the cage fight? We say our niche. Yeah, I'm travel and Amelia is law. Yes, that is that has already been revealed. We're not revealing the domains though. Niche Safari Chris always tells me to. I have missed that. That's funny. Graham says, always sleep on an article and send it in the morning. Stig says criminal are civil, and I say low competition. So I'm an equal. I do not discriminate, civil or criminal. If it is something I think I can compete for, then I am going for it for now, and then just trying to create the clusters of categories, like just very specific, and focusing more on a practice area rather than whether something is civil or criminal, because a lot of times criminal questions come up in a practice area and civil questions come up even when it relates to something that is technically criminal. So it's better to just focus on a practice area as a topic, and as maybe the organ, like architecturally, like what umbrella it falls under, rather than trying to go civil or criminal. So custody, yes, custody can be many things. It can be civil or criminal, or just comedy. Sad. Dude, you get me going, telling stories about practice of law, like working in courthouse. I don't think I've ever seen so many crazy and weird things in my year spent as a judicial clerk, just like sitting there watching court happen. Like I literally, like I saw like a fist fight, like once a week, like adult men. And you know what's funny about it is, if you've never been in a fist fight, it's not like on TV, right? On TV, they like take turns, like my turn to hit you, and then my turn to hit you. And then in real life, they either go to the ground right away or they do this. It's like grown men going like this. I literally saw that. They're just like within arm's reach going like this, like hoping for the best. That was like Tuesday. A parable. Ooh. This happened all the time, right? Because people would come in for call, good stories. It's just like the power that a judge has. This lady came in for court, and it was a criminal case, and she had on like a half shirt and stretch pants, and that were like leopard print, and then she had a sucker in her mouth, and she was in court like this, and then her name was called, and she walked up there, and he asked her name. She said she was. He says, you have a warrant out for your arrest. And she's like, and she turned around and she ran, right? Like this huge courtroom. She ran out the back and ran out the door, and everybody just sat there, right? They'd all just sat there like looking around, and the judge just looks up, and there's a deputy in the back of the room. And it wasn't like this like hulking man. It was like probably like a woman who was about 45 years old and had long gray hair. It was like steel, right? She was about this big around, and he just looked at her, and the look on his face, he said, "Get her." Stone cold. And it was like an automaton. She went like, "Brr," and went out the door. And then you hear the door open, and you hear, "Stop right there." And it was literally like a robot. "Stop right there." And then everybody just sitting there like this, like, oh God, I don't want to get in the way of this. And then like you see like somebody carrying like a kitten by the scruff of the neck. Well, that's how this woman came back. It was by the scruff of the neck. And the deputy was holding the sucker. And she says, "Your Honor." And it was like a robot. She threw the sucker on the floor. And he's like, "Cuff her." And then this woman and her sucker was like, doo, 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 and like planted there. And everybody was like, this just happened. It was like even the lawyers, like everybody who was in there, like you could see the whites of everybody's eyes. Just like, yeah, that happened. Denise says, you should write about affiliate site owners being sued by angry manufacturers. Yeah, only if you want everybody to start sweating and start worrying about whether or not they're going to be sued for things by recommending affiliate products. Sue says that she's been in court a few times recently. A bunch of nutters. There are lots of people there. Is 24K Will here? I didn't have a chance to say hi to Will, but it sounds like he's here. It's so funny watching the number of people who like come in and out when I start telling stories, because it's like people jump in and then you like get on a story that's like off track, and then you watch the numbers like, and then other people jump on and they're jump in the middle of me telling a story about a burly like robot sheriff woman. They're like, what's happening? And I would just tell you to start over from the beginning and watch the replay, because it won't make any sense. Bara says, will you reveal any of your websites? And I say, I don't want to talk about websites, because what happens when you do that is people hurt you. They do. They try to copy it. They try to, which is, I mean, imitation is a form of flattery, right? But like outright just trying to hurt you, sometimes like sending you negative traffic because they can. I have not yet seen any benefit to revealing a website unless you are planning to release a course. And there's definitely a benefit to that, because you want your students, your potential customers, to see like for real what it is that you can do and what your methods and why it is they're spending that money for that. But until I get to that phase, I do not plan on revealing anything. Nothing. Did she call the judge daddy? No, she did not. But if she had spoken, I cannot imagine it would have gone well for her, like in general. Like messing with judges in general, you don't think about it too much, because normally they're pretty congenial and like, but you get on their wrong side and then you realize how much power they really have. Like they have the power to order from the bench that your freedom is you're going to jail. Like they literally have the power to say, I'm holding you in contempt of court and I'm ordering you to go to jail. And like your rights, like where did they just go? They're just like, poof. And you're sitting in a jail cell and you're like, that just happened. Donna Kay says, like Dog the Bounty Hunter, she must not have been going very quickly, because that gal who ran, because she got quite the head start and still did not make it out of the building. Phil says, this is why I watch Court Cam. Margaret says, what is a sucker for like a baby? It's like a lollipop, like on the plastic stick, with the candy on the top. We call them a sucker. Sarah says, we used to love watching Live PD. The story reminds me of that show. Yeah, no, it was literally, it felt like something you'd see on television, but it was happening all the time, like right there. You're like, this is really happening. I mean, and not all of it was fun, right? Like not all of it was interesting. Like I watched two men like literally have like a tug of war over a child, like each like in this big, more like a big fight, and like they each had like one arm of the child, and like, you're like, these are people, these are voters, right? These are people who vote in the community that I live in. You're like, that should give you some pause. We need a new channel, Storytime with Amelia. Yeah, I have debated actually starting a third YouTube channel that is literally just like storytime, like maybe like vlog style. That's less about website stuff, because I have other interests, but everybody is here mostly because of websites. Sue says, my sister was married to a psychopath and keeps dragging her back there. Yikes. Alexander says, hola, everyone's so late. You are. You're going to have to watch the replay, because none of this is going to make sense for anyone who is just coming in late. Chris says, thusly, we have America. If you had any questions about how it is we've gotten to where we are, like spend like a couple of weeks sitting in just as an observer in our justice system, and you will no longer have questions about it, because it's shocking. Oh my goodness. Well, it is the top of the hour already. Just a reminder, if you're interested in Ezoic's Customer Week, the links are in the description. You can enter to win a free backpack. I will be here next week, but it is the 8th of September that I will be missing. And somebody mentioned something about a guest host. I have not ruled that out, although I have not started to pursue that yet. And not sure exactly who I would ask to be a guest host. So if you have ideas, either live or on the replay, who should take over the stream in my absence on September 8th, I'm going to go climb a medium-sized mountain. I should get back. Stig says, we want Fix. Fix would be a good choice. Fix has a baby and a job, so I don't know. I can ask him. Anybody else who would be a good choice as far as guest hosts? Let me know in the comments. It has been fun. I hope that at least there was some value in here aside from entertainment, because I'm not sure that I provided much in the way of value. Pineapple guy. Oh, you mean Sasha? Sasha's too big for us now. Fix would be amazing. Alex, haven't seen him lately, forgot his name. Yeah, the pineapple dude, Sasha, is good, but he's got his own stuff now. And Alex, everybody has Alex. It should be somebody who, although Alex would be good. He definitely has more experience than I do. All right. I'm really going to go because I have 20 some articles to write and I only have like 6 days to do it. So I hope you will all have a great week, and I will talk to you on the 1st next week. Have a good one. Take care.